Hey guys, welcome back. I am Jason Salyer. This past weekend I spent a 72-hour ordeal, basically, not quite 72 hours, a little shy, but 72-hour survival scenario in Alabama where we had to do all kinds of rigorous physical activities and very little sleep, almost no rest whatsoever. And it was pretty taxing and pretty challenging, and it got me thinking about all the things that a survivor in a survival situation would have to deal with. And we can break each one of those down right now. The first one that we should probably discuss, and probably in most situations, is going to be dehydration. It's very easy to get dehydrated in a survival situation because you're dealing with all sorts of problems. It may be hot outside, maybe cold outside, it doesn't really matter. But if you're having to embark in a lot of physical activity, or perhaps you're injured, or whatever, it's going to be really easy to forget to drink some water. You've got other things to deal with. You're really miserable, you're really uncomfortable, you might possibly be injured, and it's just easy to forget about drinking water. But if you should forget to drink water, the effects of that can compound and make everything else worse. It can make those injuries that you're dealing with much more miserable. It can make it very difficult to make positive or to make coherent, solid decisions. It can have bad effects on your heart, how well your heart beats. It can have cramping muscles and cause you to not be able to function properly and do the things that need to be done. So drinking on the regular is really, really important. There's just like a general rule of thumb. If you're thirsty, it's already a little bit too late. So just regular hydration. A lot of people worry about drinking wild water, and in a lot of survival situations, you're not going to have water filters and ways to boil water and all that kind of stuff, water purification tablets. But that's okay, because statistically, most of the time, you're going to be out of that survival situation before any type of waterborne pathogen is going to cause you problems anyway. So if you have a flowing water source like this that's not scummy looking, it's fairly clean, doesn't smell bad, you can search. If you can find a water source like where it's literally coming out of the earth, like in a spring, that's perfect. Like this comes out of the ground not very far away. Then that's great. Just go ahead and drink it up. But even if you can't find that, any kind of flowing water that's not completely stagnant, just go ahead and drink it, because as most of us know, about 3 days is about all most people can do without drinking a drop of water. But in reality, go a full day, go 24 hours without drinking water in a hot environment, and you will be absolutely miserable and probably not very effective to do any of the tasks that are asked of you. Obviously, I think it goes without being said that a life-threatening injury is going to be a really big problem. But that's just a whole separate category and involves a whole separate list of to-dos. Minor injuries is kind of what I'm going to talk about. Possibly a sprained ankle, or a small laceration on a hand, or you whacked your head on something, or you've got your eye poked with a stick. Minor injuries that are really nagging and painful and distracting from the tasks at hand. Those are the ones that can really, really weigh on you. It can make a survival situation really, really difficult. Think about a toothache. Let's say you got an infected tooth. That thing is driving you insane. How difficult is it to think? If you've ever had a toothache, how difficult is it to make a solid decision under that kind of annoying agony pain? Really tough. So those types of things are something that has to be dealt with too. Carrying some basic medical supplies is a really helpful thing. Basic ACE bandages and things like that, so you can wrap up an ankle and help support it. Proper footwear so you can avoid those injuries in the first place is really important. And then again, along those same lines of avoiding those injuries in the first place, is if you know you're in a bad spot and you know you're in some sort of survival situation, whether that be urban or in the wilderness somewhere, slowing down and taking your time and avoid exhaustion can help you prevent a lot of those injuries in the first place. In case you were wondering what I've got going on here, this is going to be a hillbilly hot tub. So we're going to use a fire to heat water and let it flow, and hook up some valves so we can flow water into this tub that's sitting over here. And this is the pad that the big tub is going to sit on. It's going to be pretty cool. Drug and other chemical dependence is another really big one. Like, for example, this last weekend, we had a guy drop out of the 72-hour ordeal because he had a massive migraine, most likely due to, it wasn't dehydration. He was drinking really regular, peeing clear, like no problems. But it was most likely due to a caffeine withdrawal. So crazy, huge headache, and it made him nauseous, and he ended up throwing up, which could lead to dehydration. So know how, basically cut back on a lot of that stuff for one. So nicotine is a big one that a lot of people would have a really hard time with if they had to cut cold turkey. Caffeine is, everybody drinks coffee. Everybody's got issues with that. Luckily, really luckily, I drink 1 to 2 cups of coffee a day on regular, but I don't get the headaches when I stop drinking it. So that's really, really fortunate for me, but not everybody's like that. Sometimes it's debilitating. So I know a lot of people that get really, really bad headaches when they don't drink caffeine. So that's something that you should probably take into consideration. Cut back on it, wean yourself off of it a little bit, slowly, a little bit at a time, and then test yourself so you know how you respond without it. Sleep deprivation is another really big one. I am still tired. This is the second day after the ordeal, and we only got a few hours of sleep for the whole 3 days, basically. And it really takes a toll on you. And I'm still, kind of catching up. My sleep patterns are off just from that short period. Like last night, I was up till 1 o'clock in the morning and just could not go to sleep. Because we were up all night long during that ordeal. Sleep deprivation is a big one. If you've never gone without sleep for more than 24 hours, try it sometime and see how you function. See how irritable you are. See if you can make rational, coherent decisions, solve basic math problems and that kind of stuff. It's really, really challenging. And it can make people do all kinds of crazy stuff, hallucinate. Really, really bad stuff can happen, and you can make bad decisions and get yourself into further trouble because you haven't gotten enough sleep. Again, if you are in a survival situation, it's going to be tough to get the needed rest because you're going to be under a lot of stress. You might be in a dangerous area. You might be injured. You might have that toothache that's keeping you from getting the rest that you need. It might be pouring down rain, freezing cold, whatever it is, and it's just keeping you from being able to get a little shut-eye. But if you can, if possible, make sure that you're getting a little bit of sleep, a little bit of rest, even if it's small, short little cat naps in the sunshine. That's a big deal. If the weather's good, and the sun's out, take advantage of it and get yourself a little bit of rest. That will be really, really helpful, and you'll be glad you did it. Hypothermia or hypothermia is another really, really big one, and actually probably should be on the top of the list because that kills more people than anything. Maintaining your core body temperature is really, really important. And taking your time, making rational decisions, and not overheating is a really, really big deal. Working at night, if that's the situation. Make sure you don't get too cold. Stay dry as best as you possibly can. If you're already wet, figure out a way to get dry. Starting a fire, change of clothes, or just keep moving sometimes is the best thing to do. If you are already wet in a cold environment, sometimes stopping can be really, really dangerous. And chances are you're probably going to be coping with a lot of these things in combination with one another all at the same time, making your ordeal much, much more difficult. So if you can mitigate any of these things, even just one of them, make sure that you're doing it because it's going to make your survival situation much more tolerable and might be the difference between you living and dying. Tell me in the comments, guys, what you think is the most important thing to avoid, the most devastating to a survival situation out of those 5 things that we talked about. Hyper or hypothermia, maintaining your body's core temperature, some sort of chemical dependence, withdrawals, dehydration, sleep deprivation, or some minor non-life-threatening injuries. Let me know which one of those do you think is the most dangerous in an already dangerous situation. It's easy in a survival situation to get so fatigued, so worn out that you start making bad decisions, just laying down on the wet, cold ground because you're so tired and you just need to get a minute of rest. But then you wake up extremely cold because your body temperature has dropped because the wet ground has sucked all that warmth out of you. It's really easy to say, oh, I don't need to build a fire, forget about it, because you're just too tired, or you've rolled your ankle and it hurts so much to go gather the firewood. But you need that fire to dry your clothes out. It's super easy to not drink any water. It's really easy to think, I'm not really that thirsty right now. It's too far to go get the water, whatever, just forget about it. But if you get dehydrated, those compounding problems make everything more and more and more miserable and can make your situation much more dangerous. Anyway, I really do appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.